Hello again, Sandwich. I'm Greg Anderson. As you know, we have a brand new school superintendent here in Sandwich. His name is Dr. Joe Maruszczak. So while he is new to Sandwich, he is not new to the job, and he has indeed hit the ground running. Sandwich Community Television is very committed to getting the word out on what's happening in the schools, and not everybody watches or goes to the school committee meetings, and many only rely on fragmented, misrepresented messages about what's happening on Facebook. So, to get the facts straight, we are partnering with the superintendent to provide regular discussions with input from viewers on the school issues of the day. Today is our very first show of Ask the Sup. Dr. Joe, Dr. Maruszczak, what do I call you?
Please, Joe.
Joe. Good to
pleasure.
meet you. Yeah, thank you. So this is a great new beginning of getting the word out. So I appreciate you doing that. Tell me, how's it been? You're brand new, and
So far, so good. I mean, the community, Greg, has been remarkably welcoming. I'm very genuine when I do say that I think Sandwich is a very, very special place, not only working here, but also living here. You know, as I was saying to you before, I think initially it's like the proverbial drinking through a fire hose, where there's just so much to learn and so much input to take that at times it's a little overwhelming. But, you know, again, I think we have a school district that's very, very special here.
Yeah.
We're blessed to have really remarkable educators, but also very, very supportive families that understand what it takes for their children to be successful.
you know, as with any new school superintendent, you come into the job, and where were you before?
So I was the superintendent for 10 years of the Mendon-Upton Regional
Mendon-Upton.
School District.
Okay.
And then I also left for a short period of time to get a charter school
wanna
that
ask
I
you
am
about that.
co-founder
Yeah.
in Providence, Rhode Island, up and running.
I want to ask you about that. I
Sure.
think that's fascinating. You know, as you come from Mendon-Upton and you're, you know, stepping into this job, any superintendent would have priorities and initiatives, and some of them are self-initiated. They're ones that the superintendent wants to tackle. Others are kind of dictated by the school committee. Can you tell me what your priorities are, and what has the school committee said, look, here's what we need you to do, here are the focus areas, versus some of the things that you want to do?
So I do think that there is very much a lot of an alignment between my own personal goals and my own personal vision for the school district moving forward and what the school committee's expectations are. I think first and foremost, we are talking about coming out of the pandemic, and one word comes to mind: recovery. At tomorrow night's school committee meeting, myself and Assistant Superintendent Maureen Wicklund, we're going to be presenting the MCAS results. And I think, to be fair, it's kind of a mixed bag and looking at how our students are performing. I don't think that there'll be anything in there that's shocking, however, when you look at the state results. And if you caught on the news, there was a lot of attention in yesterday's news about the NAEP, or the National Assessment of Educational Progress, and kind of looking at the data in this kind of 3-year block, looking at 2019, 2021, and 2022 results. And I think it's very, very clear where we've been, particularly in the last 2.5 school years, very much has affected student performance, and there has indeed been learning loss. When you take that achievement data and you juxtapose it with, you know, attendance data, you know, part of the data that we'll be sharing with the school committee is looking at the number of students that had 10 or more absences across the district. Here in Sandwich, it was over 60% last school year.
Wow.
So if you think about things with students who had COVID and then students who were close contacts, it's not really difficult to see how we got to that place. So I think first and foremost, we have to kind of address that recovery piece around, identifying kids who need distinct interventions, particularly in reading, writing, basic literacy and mathematics, and then putting research-based interventions in place for those kids. The second piece, I think, also...
Can I just ask you before you
Absolutely.
move on, when you look at those MCAS results, or when you look at that data, how does that, if I'm a parent, how does that translate to, what does that mean to my child? How am I going to, what am I going to see differently in this recovery as my kid is going back into high school or grade school or whatever
Sure.
it is? What's going to look different?
So I think we are very, very fortunate in Sandwich that we have multiple sources of data to assess at all different points throughout the school year how well our kids are reading, writing, processing information, problem solving, and so on. So I think for a typical parent, there should be no mystery at any point in the school year how well your kid is achieving. And if your child is not progressing so that they are achieving, say, for example, reading on grade level, then you should know programmatically what is happening as far as, at a minimum, a short-term intervention during the school day to ensure that your student can catch up.
So are you going to need to invest more in special ed staffing?
Not necessarily, and really there's an approach or kind of a framework known as RTI, which stands for Response to Intervention, that says, hey, the overwhelming majority of students, that 80%, should be tier 1, which basically means just solid instruction should be able to reach all students. And then about another 15% or so, tier 2, which basically would mean a short-term intervention, and it may mean, hey, you know what, Greg is really, really struggling with this aspect of vocabulary, say, as a 5th grade student. That may mean a short pullout within the context of the classroom where a teacher can do more intensive one-on work with you. Okay. And then really only that 5 to 10% are you talking about intensive, specially designed instruction.
IEPs and things along those lines.
Exactly.
Okay. You had mentioned there's another priority.
I think the key thing is more of almost like a mindset, and the mindset has to be around a cycle of continuous improvement. That I'm a big believer, Greg, in the credo that if you're not improving, then you're probably stagnating, or you're probably regressing.
Regressing, right.
So I think I'm trying to be very, very intentional in my messaging around continuous improvement. And the biggest factor of that is consistently having high expectations, ensuring that there is academic rigor across all grade levels, across all content areas. And I think that is inherent in ensuring that that is consistent across our 3 schools. You talk about goals and through the interview process, and it has come up conversationally, most recently when I presented the enrollment data for this current school year, in looking at what's happening to our enrollment and what also, as far as other options for families, are out there. K through 12 education has become competitive. It's
very competitive.
Because there are other opportunities for families. So I think an emphasis of mine will be ensuring the rigor, ensuring the high expectations, but also effective communication in communicating and celebrating our successes. Because the bottom line is a lot of remarkable things are happening within our 3 schools every single day. I think sometimes they're communicated, but I think there's also room for growth in that area.
So when you look at profile like me, I'm in my early 50s. I'm a short putt to 60, is what my wife keeps saying.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that she keeps bringing that up. But,
Yeah.
But I don't have kids in the school system. I pay taxes. 2/3 of our tax dollars and our
Sure.
budget is going to the schools. What is your approach? What's your game plan to celebrate the wins that you're talking about, and also be as transparent about the struggles that the school system is in? It's not perfect. You're in a recovery mode, as you say, but how do you convey what's going on with the greater community, somebody like myself?
I think I go back to the credo that you meet people where they are, in that through a means like this, through cable access television, being able to communicate to the larger community about the successes and the challenges of the school district. So some of it is through means like this, some of it is through social media, but is also connecting in places that aren't necessarily just where Sandwich Public School families are. Okay, for example, giving regular reports out at the select board meeting, or with the FinCom, or even some of our community agencies like the Kiwanis Club and so on. I very much view my job as 365, 24/7. And a vital part of that is communicating to the community. I've gotten consistent feedback, and you talk about being a putt away from 60. My wife and I are living in the village, and I literally step outside, I grab a coffee at Beth's. I feel super comfortable because the demo in the village is very much 50-somethings and 60-somethings.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the consistent feedback that I've gotten, Greg, is, yeah, we think the schools are good, but we don't really know what's going on with it.
Right.
And I think there's got to be a concerted effort to change that. Because to the larger point, in my humble opinion, the greatest indicator of the health of the community is the quality of the school districts. And I get it. I get the piece around taxes and 2/3 of the local budget going to the school district. But the flip side is we have this thing called property value. And if the schools are strong, then chances are your property value is also going to increase.
Yeah.
I also believe very much in the concept of paying it forward, that you may not have school-age kids in the district at this time, but you probably at one point in your life did. And people that were older than you decided, yeah, I'm going to support this budget because, again, we need to have a strong, healthy, vital school department.
Yeah.
So I think getting the message out there and also the communication of what's effectively happening is extremely important.
Tell me about your love or hate for social media. You're a Twitter guy, right?
I am a big Twitter guy. I do use Facebook. I have both a personal and a professional Facebook.
Those pictures of you on the beach, very questionable. I'm just saying. I'm kidding. I didn't see any pictures of you on the beach.
Like, what?
Where did those come from?
But, I think, unfortunately, social media, particularly Facebook, I'm well aware of the Scoop and Sandwich News and the different groups that we have in town. I think they're a great tool to get your word out. I don't think it's necessarily the appropriate forum to get into a back and forth exchange. I think, unfortunately, we're living in an age where people can use social media unfortunately, at times, more for destructive purposes, to
Yeah.
tear down an individual or to tear down an organization in like this quasi-anonymous type way.
Yeah.
The proverbial keyboard warrior.
You know it's rampant in this community.
Sure. And to be fair, it's rampant in almost every single community.
Yeah. Yeah. So your plan is you won't engage.
Not in an extended way, no.
Yeah.
Like, you won't see, Joseph P. Maruszczak, with a total of 20 back and forth comments.
Right.
No.
Right. Okay. When we look at Facebook as an example, or even just general social media as it relates to people's perceptions of the schools, some say the schools have a very solid academic faculty and staff that have got the right intentions. Everything is for the kids. Others will say that the school system is nurturing this politically correct cancel culture. Everyone gets a trophy type experience or culture. Is there that dichotomy in your mind? And if so, how do you speak to that?
Sure. I think, your question, Greg, speaks to the mantra that perception is reality. And the two sides that you've described could be perceptions based upon your experience with the school district, kind of as a consumer. What was your child's experience with? What was your personal experience with?
Yeah.
With teachers, with principals, with school staff, and so on. So again, to kind of back to a question or two ago, one of the additional mindsets that I really want to instill is it is about customer service. People, I've been in this business. This is my 33rd year in this business.
Wow.
And I'm always amazed at it's the little things. People remember the little things.
Yeah.
Like, we obsess on oh my God, I've got this big initiative. I've got these plans. Pretty much you will be successful or you will be unsuccessful based upon the way you treat people, based upon the way you communicate, based upon the way that you follow through on things, and so on. I hold myself to that expectation, but the people who I work with, I'm going to hold to that same exact expectation. So I think it is, you have to use a lot of data. You have to make statements that are grounded in reality and not necessarily in opinion in my role in presenting data. And I think, again, you have to go to a place that is a middle ground. I think, unfortunately, we're living in such a hyper-political, hyper-polarized era that de facto our schools are becoming that way. I strongly believe that schools should not be a political place. We should be teaching children. We should be teaching children how to read, to write, and to critically think and to problem solve. But with that said, as things come up that are developmentally appropriate, current events and so on, we should also be able to discuss those with children. That, we don't live completely in a vacuum. So I think people will find that I am pretty much down the middle, and my approach is looking at a problem or an issue from the perspective of what would most reasonably minded people think or feel about this issue.
I've got so many topics I want to talk to you, and thank you for agreeing to do this every month.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're going to be putting on the screen an email address that
Okay.
people can email in. So in advance of our taping, we're going to have some questions from others. But in the meantime, I've got plenty of questions here.
Oh my God, he's got pages.
Exactly. Let me ask you, when I was a 14-year-old kid, I got on the radio in Hanover, New Hampshire, and it was just my passion. I want to be the next Tom Brokaw, and if not, Casey Kasem.
Sure.
That was my thing, and you had mentioned your dad was in broadcasting,
Sure.
so I love that. I would have traded my Huffy bike back in those days to have facilities like this and access to production and television and radio at my high school. We didn't have anything. We had Dartmouth College, but we didn't have anything at the high school. In your effort to celebrate things, we've got football games and we have basketball games and we have things that are happening within the school district. Is there a plan in your mind to plump up the media department or put more cameras in the schools? What's your, not observation cameras, but out on
Sure.
the football field, up in the stands?
So we're really, really fortunate within this community that we have, the full TV studio where we have Blue Night TV at the high school. We also have the radio station, on-air radio station. So, and in speaking with Paula, I know that we've done additional work in establishing remote cameras, not only in the auditorium, but also in the press box at the stadium. So I do think we have additional opportunities to get the word out. And, in moving forward, I want to see the expansion of our offerings at the high school, but also additional partnerships with Sandwich Community TV.
Excellent. Loved. Good answer. I like that one. Tell me about, and tell me if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Nuestro Mundo?
Tu español es horrible.
I don't speak German. But so I don't know what you just said.
It's Nuestro Mundo.
Okay.
Nuestro Mundo Public Charter School.
Excellent. Tell me, you're a co-founder.
I am a co-founder. So life sometimes throws you curveballs, as you know. But in Mendon Upton, for about 25 years, I mean, who would think Mendon Upton in the middle of nowhere has had a really highly successful Spanish immersion program, K through 12, which at last probably has about 300 students in total in it. So when I was superintendent and realized, my undergraduate degree's in chemistry, I was a high school chemistry teacher, it's not my background at all, I was really intrigued by the program because I really felt like it was the strongest, most innovative thing that the district had. So I took a lot of interest in it. I got involved in starting a formal exchange program with the sister school in San Sebastian, Spain, and had an opportunity twice to bring a group of students over. I learned, really brushed up my Spanish effectively. So in late 2018, 2019, I was approached by my alma mater, Providence College, to kind of investigate starting a brand new charter school that would be dual language immersion, but to serve a population in need, and specifically English language learners. So myself and the coordinator of the program put together a proposal to the Rhode Island Department of Education to start a brand new K through 8 school in the city of Providence. So it was long, extended, and a lot of it played out in the midst of the pandemic, which was another layer of challenge.
When was this, when you started it up?
It just started in September of 2021, so this is its second year of operation.
Wow.
It's a K through 8 school. About 85% of its population is Latino. About 60% of the students are English language learners. And Nuestro Mundo in Spanish means our world. because the school has an interdisciplinary focus on sustainability, and particularly environmental sustainability, which is a personal passion of mine.
Yeah.
So it's now in the second year of operation. I still have some involvement in the context as a board member of the board of directors, but it's just a fascinating project that I hope will continue to grow and flourish.
So you're talking about Providence. You've started this up. You're involved in that. Your wife is still a teacher. She's an educator in Providence.
She
or in Rhode Island.
in Warwick, yes.
In Warwick. You have two daughters. One is going to Johnson and Wales.
Yes.
The other is often in
She
the big world.
is gainfully employed, every parent's goal.
Yes, exactly.
And she works as a speech-language pathologist at Brigham and Women's Hospital.
So everything about Sandwich is relocation. It is you're an empty nester now.
More or less, yeah.
More or less. Okay.
They never, ever quite go away,
I have learned
as I've
that.
learned.
Yes, I have a 24 and a 20-year-old, and
Okay,
I've-
so we're in the same wheelhouse.
yeah, exactly. Why Sandwich?
It's kind of interesting that, going back to the 70s, almost every single year, as a family, we took a vacation in Cape, and, with the girls, my wife and I usually did an August vacation to the Cape, and we always talked about, gee, wouldn't it be interesting someday to be on the Cape full-time? And when the Sandwich opportunity opened up and I did investigation, when things just kind of come together and they kind of make sense, I applied for the position, and it just felt like just a perfect fit. So hence I'm here.
And this is a long-term game for you. You're looking to buy? I know you're renting now from...
Renting now, and good Lord willing, the market stabilizes and it makes sense, we will sell our home in Rhode Island and buy here.
Yeah. Last thing, you're a runner.
I am. I try my best.
But we're not talking about like you run around the cul-de-sac 10 times with the dogs like I do, which is hardly a run. It's more like a trot for me.
Sure.
I mean, look at me, for God's sakes. But you're a runner. This is a serious thing for you. Like, what's your passion about that?
I think it's kind of the piece around challenging yourself. I started pretty aggressively, I want to say about 15 years ago, completed 4 marathons, a whole slew of half marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks, and so on. Things have been challenging through the pandemic, but I've really picked it up. We have a great little running club here in town that meets
Are you part of
every
that?
Thursday. Yes.
I was actually thinking of joining that.
Every Thursday at the Bell, right across from the Pilot House at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now that we're in, the sun setting, everybody kind of has the lit vest that they run. But it's a great, very, very diverse group of people.
Yeah.
You've got some 20-somethings all the way up to 60-somethings.
Yeah.
And it's just a 5K loop near Town Neck Beach.
See, is
that
there
we do.
going out and drinking afterwards? Is that a part of
I
it?
would never do that as the superintendent of
Yeah.
schools. Are you kidding me?
Because see, I would do it on your behalf if I joined.
No, there is usually
It's a social thing.
grab a bite to eat
Yeah.
at the local or off the grid or a place like that. Yeah.
Good. Joe, it is a pleasure talking with you.
Likewise.
And I really do commend you for committing to this new venue of getting out into the community. This conversation on an ongoing basis will be hopefully a lot more specific questions that are coming from the community. Are people feeling, or you can, how can people get in touch with you outside of this communication? But are you up for knocking on your door? How do you want people to communicate
Probably
with you?
the best way would be to, shoot me a quick email, and maybe you could even put my email address, or if you go to the Sandwich Public Schools website and then just click on Superintendent, And you see a message from me, but there's also a link to my email as well.
And it goes directly to you.
Correct.
Okay.
And over the summer months, I did 3 coffee hours at the town library. I'm going to do a couple more this fall.
Oh, good.
And I've been really pleasantly surprised at the folks that have come out and the passion that they have for the success of our school district and really wanting to delve into and have discussion about some big picture issues.
Well, I think you've got a positive attitude. I think you bring experience. You come from, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was coming from Mendon Upton. I mean, that's a multi-town
Sure.
school
It's a
district.
regional
and
school district, yeah.
How it's different here, but maybe we can get into that on another conversation. But I think this is really good opportunity to bring forward some things. As I said at the beginning, not everybody goes to the school committee meetings.
No, very few people do.
Yeah, exactly. And you read in the newspapers things that are happening. So I'm really excited about this. This is a good venture. And I will tell you, on your screen is the email address for you as viewers to send us an email. What are the questions you would like Dr. Maruszczak to be answering and speaking to? Topics. Send them our way. The email address is askoursuperintendent@gmail.com. And of course, the email address for the superintendent is also on your screen. So we're giving you many opportunities to be in connection with Joe. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I will see you next month,
I will be here.
and I will see all of you soon.